Hi, welcome to Addiction Recovery Place podcast, the podcast champion addiction treatment professionals around the world. I'm your host, Chris Langley, and I'm very pleased to introduce today's guest, Jeffrey Harvey. Jeffrey is the clinical director at Jackson Comprehensive Treatment Center in Mississippi. He's experienced in group therapy, strategic planning, public speaking, program development, and community outreach. Welcome to Addiction Recovery Place podcast, Jeffrey. It's so good to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate your time. I know you're very, very busy, so we're just going to get started. So can you tell us about yourself and your journey to becoming the clinical director at Jackson Comprehensive Treatment Center?
Well, I give a short version, but I always tell people that, I'm the clinic director, I'm the CEO of my own natural prevention mentorship and consultation, do a lot of public speaking, a lot of trainings and things like that, but blah, 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 blah. I always tell people the most important thing that I am, that I'm an alcoholic and I'm a drug addict.
Okay.
I have the credentialing, to do what I do, but in all honesty, my journey started with the disease of addiction. And that's why I take it so serious. I learned a lot of credits in college to get certifications to be able to do it, but I got a set of skills, from the lash of alcoholism and drug addiction that no classroom could give me. So I tell people I earned it with my blood, sweat, and tears. Mm-hmm. And looking in hindsight back at it, that really just, it qualifies me, a part of my qualification to do what I do. But I also do believe that people who don't have the disease can work with us. So I started my journey with the local community mental health center as a peer support specialist. I love peer support. Peer support can bridge that gap between clinical services, medical services, when, people like me walk into your clinic or your treatment center and don't want to listen. But I will listen to somebody who kind of been where I am, especially if the peer support tells me, well, because I look at the peer support and I'm like, you don't look like you've been on drugs or have a problem with alcohol. And it never fails. My next question always is like, well, what did you do? And the peer support can tell me like, look, I know I had to listen to my counselor, I had to listen to Miss So-and-so, I had to do this, I had to do that. And that kind of engaged me in treatment. So I started off as a peer support specialist. I went on to, get sober, and fortunate enough for me that I had gotten back in college. And I was getting my bachelor's degree. And, but during like my last 2 years of undergraduate, my addiction just started to spiral out of control. I'm also a big advocate of drug courts. I had gotten into some criminal trouble with the judicial system. Par for the course with addiction, and so I met this judge, Judge Winston Kidd. He's the magistrate over Heinz County drug court, and that man, he changed my life. He believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. I honestly, I thought he was kind of picking on me. But we look back at it because now I'm on his treatment team. And I look back at it and he just saw something in me, but I thought he was picking on me, but he was really trying to drive me to greatness. So I think he was a guy seeing. So anyway, I did peer support. I did finish my bachelor's degree while I was on drug court. I went on to do community support specialist, formerly known as a case manager. I worked on a crisis team with that same community mental health agency. I went on to start a program called Operation Let Go. I got a promotion to do drug, alcohol, and violence prevention for inner city youth here in Jackson, which we have a big issue with. And that's kind of where my side business, natural prevention came from, because there is a need there. Anybody who does this work, has an understanding that prevention works a lot better than treatment. The outcome measures are a lot better. But it just takes a while to see, prevention work, because, you're talking 5-10 years, taking a second grader and watching him go all the way up through high school or middle school. And research says that if you can keep them from doing drugs to the time they're 22, chances are they won't try. So I did drug and alcohol prevention work, which I love working with children. Fun fact about me, I always said when I started, I would never work with children. And my creator had a funny way of showing me, like, no, son, you gonna do what I ask you to do, or I'm gonna make this difficult for you. So I did drug, alcohol, violence prevention, a lot of parades, a lot of community engagement, a lot of going to schools, educational curriculum for children, like Too Good for Drugs and Violence, life skills. and I found it very fruitful. But by that time, I had started the process of getting my master's degree. And I don't say these things to tout. I'll wrap it up with anything good that I do is an example of more of a reflection of what my creator can do. Because left up to my own devices, I don't say this about other people, just myself. I'm just a garden variety drug addict and alcoholic who will more or less steal your wallet and help you look for it than I am to help you. And through the journey of recovery, I found that, my creator changed my heart. And, I always used to ask, why do I have to have this disease, right? My friends go drink, they can, but they can take it and leave it. I can't. So anyway, I did drug and alcohol prevention. I finished my master's degree, went ahead and got my master's in clinical mental health counseling. I started the first outpatient opioid use disorder program in the state of Mississippi, funded by the Department of Mental Health of Mississippi, called Ground Zero. We helped a lot of people get sober, get them over into sustained remission with medication management over 12 months. Yeah. And then I was offered the position to run that department that I had worked all those positions on. Here recently in the last 3 months, I've been appointed by the Heinz County Board of Supervisors. I'm a mental health commissioner for Heinz County now. So I've had the opportunity to do a lot of great things. And again, I say those things not to brag, but I will say this. I earned it with my blood, sweat, and tears. And I didn't understand why I had to have this disease, but when I look back at it, it was because my creator knew with his help, if one man has to go through it, it's all about bearing your own cross. If one man can go through it and help thousands of people, which I've had the luxury of doing, then I'll say this: no childhood molestation that I went through, no drug addiction, no any of the things I went through make it bad, because it all made me who I am, and I love who I am today. I love what I do. So I hope that wasn't too long-winded.
That was incredibly inspiring. Wow. That was one of the most fascinating introductions I've done so far on the podcast, Jeffrey. Thank you so much for sharing that information with me. One thing I would like to just come back to, you said that the drug court that you attended, you're now working with the judge that was dealing with your cases. Is that right?
Very good friend of mine, Judge Winston Kidd. I'm going to keep calling his name. He's going to be so mad at me. I'm going to try to meet up with him later this evening. It's funny to me that I started out and I was standing in front of these judges. I had, prescription forgeries, possession charges, stuff that just, common occurrences that, to be honest, most inner city minorities especially. But I'd go far enough to say most inner cities, doesn't matter what your race is. When you're poor, I grew up poor, but when I was with my grandmother, I never felt poor. Right. She taught me to cut the grass, wash the car, go to church, be good to people. She taught me all these things that you can't buy. And I never grew up, feeling poor, but I had to go stay with my mother eventually. And I had a great mother who loved me. She was just a single parent. She did the best she could. But I always like to tell people that. But so when I got with Judge Kidd, I'm in front of all these different judges that now I bump shoulders with them because we work in these circuits and I come in and speak for them and help them with it. But when I met him, man, I thought this man was like, I'll never forget, he gave me the option. He said, you can go to jail or you can go to treatment. Which one you want to do? And I told him, it don't sound like I have a choice. He said, and he had these glasses he wear. He's a very smooth guy. He said, you have a choice. You might not like the options. So I just knew I couldn't outthink him, which the alcoholic and the addict, the alcoholic and the person with a substance use disorder, we are egomaniacs with inferiority complexes, right? So I go in here, and first I want to be the egomaniac with this judge, tell me how smart that is. But anyway, he challenged me, and I grew to respect him because he was everything that I wasn't. And so he kept pushing me, and what really made me admire him was that even after I finished drug court, I'm coming up on 10 years of sobriety in the next couple of months. Even when he challenged me, he was always trying to push me to greatness. I just thought he was kind of being a-hole, but he was never mean. He was never sarcastic. He was never degrading or belittling to me. And I always tell my patients those things when I meet them. I still have direct contact with them. And I always tell them, I never belittle you. I never degrade you. I never say anything that's not true. But I will tell you the truth. I'll tell you how to carry the cabbage, and I'm not going to hold back. And he did that with me, and it made me admire him. Because I'm bigger than him, I had this bigger stature than him, but he wasn't afraid of me, and he loved me until I learned how to love myself. And most importantly, even after I finished drug court, he followed me through the process. He still called and checked with my mother. And I'm like, I know this guy sees hundreds of people, but they told me his heart was in it. And he told me, he said, Jeffrey, always don't listen to people. He said, feel them. And I never forgot that. I try to feel people and remember, when I was where they are. So yeah, I'm a big advocate for drug courts from Rankin County to Heinz County. I believe in them. I believe those are the people who would be in prison, because left up to my own devices, most inner city youth where I started, who were in the predicament I was in, I was on the MDOC probation, and clearly I violated and caught 4 new charges, felony charges, and it was divine intervention. It had to be a God, because I was preparing to go to prison. Where I'm from is kind of a rites of passage. Once you go to prison, you're a man, as sad as that sounds. But it's like God said, no, I got other plans for you. And he walked me through the process. I was able to get sober, see what recovery looked like in the inner city. A lot of times, I know where I'm from. These fellowships, I won't call their name because it's, I'm not autonomy. I won't call their name, but you I think you follow what I'm saying. These support groups that have been around for a long time. I didn't know anything about those places, those analysis. I didn't know anything about that. I just thought, my grandmother's a 98-year-old lady now. She always told me, you just pray to God and tell him to take it away from you. So I thought I could pray it away. And I came to realize that, that especially down here in the South, we have this idea that, God will take away my schizophrenia. He'll take away God not going to knock a cup of codeine cough syrup on my hand. He's not going to knock a blunt out of my hand. He's not going to knock PCP lace cigarette out of my hand. But he will send me a therapist. He will send me a treatment center. He will send me these people who he has crafted their hands to help me. And, I have to reach out, and I had to get to that point of desperation that, I didn't want to live like that no more. And he laid it in front of me, and my guts was in my hand, and I was desperate enough to do it. And I don't want to curse on your thing, but I said, I'd be damn, man. The best decision I ever made in my life was to surrender and accept that somebody else knew better for me than I knew for myself. That was the best thing I could ever do. And it's the hardest thing I've ever had. So yeah, I'm a big advocate for drug court. I believe it keep people like me out of prison. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I will say this: if you give us a chance, it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. If you take the dope away from us, we are good people. We loving people. We kind people. And I'd go far enough to say we're above average intelligent people. And I'll say that because look at the way we have to live our life when we're using. We have to be smart, creative, tactical, not get killed, try not to go to jail. Like, we can be very savvy people. We just have to get sober and rechannel that energy.
Wow. That was incredible.
I give it to you. I'm going to give it to you raw. Like, I don't try to sound, I'm going to give it to you raw, just really what it is, what I think society wants to hear from us. What makes you all tick, right? There's this other book that I read that I won't call his name, but we read it in churches, I'll say, right? And my grandmother tried to give it to me, and I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't get an imaginary thing. I can pray to it and say yes, but I didn't have a relationship with it until I went to this other place, and they put me in this other book that was like that book, but it was the 101 version for beginners. And it introduced me to it, and it walked me right back into what my grandmother had been trying to give me the whole time. It didn't make me feel forced to do it, though.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Well, this is an understatement, but big congratulations on everything that you've achieved, Jeffrey. It's so inspiring hearing this. And I'd like to speak about your your service as well that you provide your community, because I've obviously looked online and looked at what you do, and it just seems such an amazing service, and what you've done for your community. It's just incredible. Can you tell us about some of the services that you offer your community?
Okay, so I keep that part brief. I don't want to take over the interview.
No, please do.
Here at Jackson Comprehensive Treatment Center, we consider ourselves the premier cream of the crop, harm reduction treatment, and we provide medicated assisted treatment services.
Yes.
Research shows that those medications, methadone maintenance, Suboxone, Subutex, Vivitrol, some are narcotic, some are not narcotic. We provide those medications. We have an in-house dispensary. We have a nursing team. Yep. We have a nurse practitioner and a doctor who oversees the entire process and does it in a safe way. I always like to tell people this who don't understand. They say, well, isn't that cross-addicting? Is this medication addictive? Yes, it is. But I would like to piggyback on that and say this. When you come into this clinic, you have a medical doctor, nurse practitioner, or a pharmacist or a nurse. These people are trained to give you these medications to keep you alive. And I always like to give the story of a patient that I had, 24 years old, 4 kids, 3 felony charges, didn't even graduate high school, was on her way to prison. She had 3 pending charges. She came into a program I started. She got sober. It was a rough road for her. She got sober. She got granted probation because she got sober, and she got a job, and she became a tax-paying citizen. And with that job, she realized she didn't like the job. She wanted a career. So she went back to college, and she got her associate's degree. Then she got her bachelor's degree. And now this girl been sober 5.5 years, finna be 6 years. She got no custody of any of her kids. College degree, custody of her 4 kids. She's married, nice home, she works. And I tell that story because I don't care what medication you take. We have such a stigma on these medications, and I just try to tie 2 of these questions together because I think they coincide together. It's such a stigma on the medication. Well, it's addictive, or it's this. I have borderline high cholesterol. Nobody knows how many pills I take a day. Nobody. That's between me and my doctor. Nobody asks me, well, how long are you going to be taking that medicine? Possibly the rest of my life. But it improved the quality of my life, right? I have good health now. My numbers are fine. I go to work. I pay taxes. And that medication is an FDA-approved medication and is socially accepted. I don't think it's anybody's right to judge a person or how long they should take a medication that clearly saves their lives. It saves their lives, it improves their quality of life, and it turns them from the potential to be tax-depleting citizens to tax-paying citizens. Yeah. Now, that medication is part of our service, but research shows that that medication in combination with good, sound clinical services, which we offer here, individual counseling, group counseling, family counseling, and peer support services, because I have a peer support here with me that got sober in a prior program. He's been sober 3 years. And he is amazing. They all love him. So we provide recovery support services, medicated assisted treatment, therapy, and I just kind of do it all. I'm the director, but I tell people I'm the maintenance man. Every patient that says, oh, that's Jeff, he the maintenance man, because I go around cleaning up, and if a patient needs me for something, I'm the first one out there to make sure they get everything they need. We've saw an increase in the amount of patients who get take-home doses here with our phasing system because we have incentivized treatment. I don't believe in punitive treatment. I got sober the old-fashioned way. Sit down, shut up. If you don't like it, leave. We'll go back to jail. I got sober because I was desperate, though. I was desperate. I didn't want to die like that. But through that process, I learned that you don't have to be ugly to help somebody get sober. We don't have to treat people like less than a human being just because they're in a bad situation. So here, we roll out the red carpet for them. Now, we're not going to, do anything that's going to help, enable them in any way. But if it's something we can do to help them, we definitely going to do that. We want a strong fidelity of our program where we make sure counseling services, peer support services are happening with the medication. And we also do resources. We have we outsource, for if they have psychiatric issues. We don't treat it here, but we have great community partners like Region 9, Heinz Health, Region 8, places. We have detox facilities set up for our patients in case they have a stumble or they come in and need to detox. We refer them out. And when they're done, they come back to us. We pick them up and we keep going. So everything's in line where we can keep them in their medication, whether they go to treatment or detox. And I think that about answered your question.
Wow. I mean, what don't you do?
I mean, we have to do it all. We have people right, and we also have gotten funding from the state. So we have patients who pull up in Volvos and have soccer balls in the back, and then we got patients who pull up on their bicycle around the street trying to get up here to dose and see their counselors. We are all across the gamut. We have doctors, we have attorneys, we have all kind of people who come. Not specifically doctors. I mean, the point I'm making is we have people from all walks of life who walk into the clinic, and we want to help everybody. So the last thing we don't want to happen is somebody can't receive services with us simply because they don't have insurance or have money. So we solicited funds in the Department of Mental Health, and the SOAR team over there for Mississippi Department of Mental Health are big advocates of ours. They help us with funding for those indigent patients. So we just trying to fight the good fight the fentanyl crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the process for someone who wants to come to your service, Jeffrey? So can outside agencies contact you? Or how does
they sure can. They sure can. I gave you the number. I can give you the number. Typically what I do, we have a dashboard here, and it's called our dashboard where we accept inquiries. I won't call the name of it, but if you call this 1-800 number, they will go ahead and schedule you for your admission date, time. They give us a little background information so we know what we calling when we call you. We call it an inquiry.
Yep.
I answer those on the weekend personally. I call back on my cell phone. For anybody who knows me, to speed the process up, I use my cell phone number. If it was you, for example, say, hey, man, my niece, she doing this, then I say, look, you just call me Monday morning, and I'm gonna get her in here. Wow. And we can go back and do all the little stuff prior to that. We can do that later. Our main goal is to get people involved in treatment. I give her my email, you can email me, or you can give me a phone call. We have two different numbers. We have a dashboard where we can accept admissions and get them scheduled right then through the admission, or you can call me and I can have the receptionist to put them in, and we get them in as soon as possible. Our business operating hours for admissions are 5. We say 5 to 9, but we'll take them all the way up to 10. We don't want to turn anybody away who, will come back tomorrow, and then they go out tonight and they don't make it tomorrow. So I have my staff trained to think like that. If they hear, strike while the iron hot, and get them engaged in treatment. We can buy them another day. We're not punitive. We don't believe in, you're failing drug tests, let's put them out. For what we're dealing with the fentanyl crisis, to put somebody out of treatment, but let's say it like this, to put somebody out of treatment with a substance use disorder is an automatic death sentence. So we're not surprised if somebody has a relapse, or somebody, they getting high for the, initial part of treatment. It's a part of the process. And again, we don't put them out for that because that's a death sentence. And that is not what harm reduction is. People tend to think harm reduction is, you should be totally abstinent. That's not harm reduction. Harm reduction is basically this, and a lot of clinical people have a problem understanding this. If you were doing fentanyl, heroin, taking prescription opioids, if you were taking them 7 days a week, if we can get you down to 3 days a week, we reduce the risk of you harming yourself more than 50%. And it's a lot easier for me to get you from 3 days to none than to get you from 7 days to none. So we don't really have like a punitive system here, but we do get some high-risk patients who kind of engage in this and stuff. We kind of do some treatment things, some addendums, offer some additional services to try to see what we can do to get them, where they can work towards, their goal. We're person-centered here. We believe in the patient taking part in their treatment because they're more likely to do it if they take part in the process.
That's right. So someone could just turn up on the doorstep in the morning and they can see someone straight away, yeah?
tomorrow morning, 1935 Lakeland Drive, Suite 900. You can walk right up to the door at 4:59. We'll open it an hour early. Ask you, how are you doing? Need a cup of coffee? I'm having a problem with this. Well, you just come on in and let us help you. You can walk right to the reception desk and do a walk-in. I don't know if you were posted on there, but you have my both phone numbers, my email address. I'm not that important. My cell phone, not that important. I'm not that important to where somebody can't call my cell phone. They can call my cell phone. They can call the other number. They can walk straight in the front door. They can email me, and we get them set up just as quick as possible. We generally try to have them in within 24 hours. We work with all the major hospitals are right up the street from us. The University of Mississippi Medical Center, St. Dominic's, the Baptist, and now we're taking referrals from all of them. And what was surprising to me is a lot of them were like, we didn't know services like this were offered. Yeah, send them down here to us. Because they don't know what to do. Somebody walk in, they in a psychosis, or they don't know what to do. Have an opioid use disorder, maybe drug-seeking behavior. They don't know what to do. They just, like natural go-tos, just put them out. Because we're not giving you the opioids, but there are things you can do, like send them here, where we can work with them in room. Opiate use disorders are different from other use disorders. And I have several different ones, right? Most substance use disorders are a mental obsession. I do it when I'm sad. I do it when I'm mad. I do it when I'm happy to celebrate. I do it when I don't like the way I feel. But there's no physical dependence. It's more mental, right? Which treatment works well for that. Opioid use disorders are a horse of a different color because they not only have a mental obsession, but they have a physical. Meaning, if I don't get it, I get sick. Right? I throw up. I get clammy hands. I get, diarrhea. I get all these things happening to my body. And any person who doesn't do any substances, if you get sick, you go to a doctor. He give you some medicine, and you're gonna take it if you're sick enough, because it's gonna help you get better. It's the same thing with opioid use disorders and the services we provide here. They get sick, they come in, we give them just enough relief to where psychological measures can be taken. Because if I'm sitting in front of you and you're trying to give me cognitive behavior therapy, motivational interviewing, you're trying to do all that stuff, and I'm sitting here and I'm about to throw up, I'm sick, my hands clammy, I'm aggravated, I'm irritated. I don't give a damn what you offering me. I'm finna leave. But if I can give you something to level you out just enough, you get just enough relief where you feel like you can sit in your own skin, psychological measures like counseling and peer support services are more effective then.
Yes, most definitely, most definitely. What are some of the challenges that you face providing your service in the community, Jeffrey? Have you come across many challenges from external?
Yep. Stigma.
Yeah.
Stigma. I just keep it right there. It's stigma. I don't think it's that people, you get a lot of older heads like me who've been around and got sober the old fashioned way. And I know some of them, they have good intentions and they want to help. We seek to be of help. We don't pretend to know it all, but we seek to be a part of and not replace anything. And I do think some of those like support groups and stuff like, I think they can coincide. They're not mutually exclusive, but I think you get egos involved and people start feeling, well, I didn't do it like that. And I'll be honest enough to say these services weren't available when I got sober, because if they were, it probably would have made my transition a lot smoother. So I try to be involved in like the solution, not the problem. I don't talk a lot about problems. So we just want to be a part of helping. And in the South, I don't know, maybe it's like this other places, but I know here in the South, a lot of it is they don't understand it, right? They just feel like, oh, they're abusing or they getting high on it. And it's like anything else, are there people who probably abuse it? Yes, but the safeguard that we have against that is we monitor it. We follow SAMHSA's guidelines for take homes for narcotic medications. You will come in and dose for an extended period of time, daily for some medications, not as long as other medications. And that's simply so we can monitor it and make sure you're safe before you start taking these kind of medications home. So during that monitoring process, we're phasing people from a different certain amount of days, we're phasing you up. And a part of phasing up is you have to have negative urinalysis. You have to be going to your counseling sessions, both group and individual. If you have peer support or recovery support services, you have to be engaged in those. And those are things that are contributing to your mental well-being while the medication is working on your physical well-being. And by the time you start getting those medicines, it's less likely that you're abusing them. So we have safeguards around it. But here in the South, there still is a lot of stigma with that medication. I just really think it's because people don't understand, and there's not a lot of Jeffries out here explaining it to them. So I take every opportunity. You messaged me and I was like, yeah, sure. Like, do I want to be sitting here drinking a cup of coffee trying to get ready for my next meeting? Yeah. Is that the best thing for me to be doing? No. The best thing for me to be doing is sharing the message of hope. Maybe educating some people who didn't know about these medications, and some people who know about them, and let them know simple things like you cannot overdose on buprenorphine. You can't. Like, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people, though they just getting high, they don't really get high off the medication. First 2 times, maybe some little buzz, but after that, it levels off. Right? I call it the wonder drug a lot of times with it. All of the drugs medication that we use are wonders, but with Suboxone in particular, because it's very prevalent a lot of times, it levels off, right? And it has another drug in there that people really like and don't realize it's in there. It has Narcan in it, which means if you take it, it's 8x2s or 4x2. If you take it, you get enough relief from opiates that you can focus. But if you get a bright idea to go out and try to use only, the Narcan kicks in, flush your receptors off, and it kicks you into precipitated withdrawals. So it won't let you, it's trying not to let you overdose. Like, these medications are wonderful, and I don't think a lot of people know what's in them. So I think it's incumbent on people like me to inform the public.
Well, you're certainly doing that today, that's for sure, Jeffrey. I totally agree with what you were saying about buprenorphine as well. In the UK, we had that as well. Mm-hmm. And compared to methadone, the success rate was so much higher for clients. Clients were almost relieved when you moved from methadone to Suboxone.
Which, fun fact, especially with what I call the pretty little pills, the synthetics, you go to the pharmacy, pick up your Percocet, Lortab, this. But to be honest, with illicit opiates, heroin, fentanyl, my experience has been that depending on frequency and duration, a lot of times Suboxone is not strong enough for that population. Mm-hmm. And methadone is the most effective when it comes to illicit opiates like fentanyl and heroin. And now I don't even think they do heroin no more. Now I think they used to cut the heroin with fentanyl. Now I think they cut the fentanyl. I think they cut they just put the heroin as the cutting agent now. Most patients who come, I won't say most, but a lot of my patients, they don't even want heroin. They don't have to pretend no more. They go buy fentanyl. And that's what's so dangerous about it. They don't, it used to be, heroin, and they cut it with fentanyl and they didn't know, but now they just go buy fentanyl. They know what it is. I mean, it's deadly and it's killing a lot of people.
It is. It really is. That's leading on to my next question, actually, Jeffrey. So how is your state coping with the crisis, with fentanyl and the opioid crisis? Obviously the marvelous work that you're doing at your agency is fantastic, but how is the state generally? Are they running away from it, or are they just trying to deal with it?
No, I will say they're not running away from it. I'll be honest, they running me to it. So they have me and they have other agencies. Well, I will say me, because it's not me. Jackson Comprehensive Treatment, so subsidiary of Acadia Behavior Healthcare. They use agencies like this, and we're at the front line. Like, they have to depend on us. Because again, a lot of times they don't understand. They just know we got people falling dead left and right. They don't know what to do. And we have to be mindful not to just throw money at the problem. We have to look at our options, see what's most effective, and target our money into those places that are working. Yeah. And create mass appeal, like podcasts and, different things to inform the public. Okay, we have this issue. This is what we see, what works best, and put media and things in place to like lead them like they do with livestock, lead them right to the trough, so they can come here and save their lives. So we don't have people falling dead. So we have this place, Jackson Comprehensive Treatment Center. We have a lot of providers here that can offer a lot of our community mental health agencies have MAT programs where you can go in and get prescribed your buprenorphine. The difference is we're a lot more swamped because we offer, we're one of the few places that for methadone maintenance. So we do buprenorphine and methadone, but like a lot of all of the community mental health agencies, they can't offer that medication because there are certain regulation guidelines and things you have to do with a dispensary and blah, 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 blah. So we're one of the only in Jackson. There's another one, but we're one of the only in Jackson. So the more people had to perish, the more people were willing to accept medicated-assisted treatment. It's sad we had to have a lot of fatalities before people start buying in, but when you start having senators and congressmen and lawyers and attorneys and doctors and people, families dying, like this is the first substance use disorder where, let's be honest, we say certain things like the crack epidemic and stuff like that. We say, okay, well, this in the inner city, that's in, the ghetto, that's in but then opioid use disorder start popping up. Then you start having people who were like, these your nieces, your nephews, your uncles, your daddy, big in the elderly population because they were giving these people these medicine. And I won't get into that from the sacklers, but yeah, we start prescribing this stuff to our grandparents and our uncles and daddies, and people didn't know. And by the time they realized what was happening, they had a full-fledged addiction. So we kind of got behind the 8-ball on that. But now we have a lot of community mental health agencies like in the Tri-County area, Region 8, Region 9. Look, I don't take credit for all the work. Like I shout them out. They got great programs that they get people in and can put them on buprenorphine. But we're like the front line of defense. They're like the soldiers, and we like the tanks who go right at the front of the line because we get them from everywhere. And a lot of times a lot of patients have realized that Suboxone just is not. It works, but it's just not going to work for me because I'm doing this particular drug. So they come find me. I'm pretty known in the community. They go find me wherever I'm at. They pass my number around like it's candy. So I don't even try to not answer the phone. I can't not answer the phone because it could be that one person who's reaching out for help. So I'm always up answering the phone all through the night, trying to get people engaged in service.
Yeah. Wow. One thing I did want to ask, obviously with the fentanyl crisis that's going on, Jeffrey, do you ever find any patients come to you and you do the drug test and it comes up positive fentanyl and they don't think they've taken fentanyl?
Oh, it happens all the time. There's this thing called perception of harm. And perception of harm is, what I found is that, it's going to your question. I keep it brief, I promise you. Perception of harm is this. I know fentanyl has the potential to kill me. So even if I come in, I say, well, I'm not going to do fentanyl. I come in here, I'll do my buprenorphine, or I take my methadone maintenance, right? But on the weekend, I'll try to do a little meth, right? And what was happening was a lot of these patients were coming in the clinic and they were getting the UAs done, and they were still testing positive for methamphetamine and fentanyl. And they were like, I didn't do any fentanyl. And I tell them that, it's a long time ago, drugs were what they say. As bad as that was, crack was crack, right? Powder cocaine was powder cocaine. Marijuana is marijuana. Look, I don't have anything with marijuana. Marijuana was marijuana. But now it's a figment of your imagination. It's not what you go buy one thing and you think is that, but they're putting fentanyl in everything because it's very addictive. And they don't want you to come back and just buy some weed. They want you to come back and buy their weed. Fun fact again, had a friend work with the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics, won't call his name, called me one day, said they had busted a large quantity of high-grade marijuana, what he called it. And I'm sitting up thinking, okay, well, big deal. I mean, I'll be like, when I start seeing dispensaries popping up on every corner, you can go to your doctor and get a prescription. Like, that's not even something I'm concerned with marijuana. I'll just be honest with you. But what he said was, I was like, well, what he told me was, he said, Jeffrey, when we tested it, it didn't come back positive for only THC. It came back positive for fentanyl. And I was like, oh shit. And this was a lot of weed. So I don't think the cartel really cares if you can overdose and die. I think they're more concerned with having a captivated consumer base, so to speak, right? So I put this on this weed, you'll come back. I don't want just his weed. I don't want just some weed. I want his weed. And they don't even understand why. So here at Jackson CTC, I step out and get, it's per regs in Mississippi. We're not required to test for marijuana. I thought that was beautiful. And the reason I said that is because this, in light of what I'm dealing with people who own fentanyl, like the last thing I'm worried about is that. Secondly, and most importantly, I want to be politically correct, but I'll say this, I just didn't think it was fair that I have a job and I come in, I receive services, but I have a paycheck and some money. I can go down the street to the doctor. He give me a medical marijuana card, and I can go to the dispensary and buy weed, bring me the prescription, and it's prescribed by your doctor. You can still phase up, but then I have somebody, same situation, but they don't have any resources, can't get a medical marijuana card, and they're getting penalized for not having this card. So what it boiled down to for me was money. So that's why I said, when I started to see dispensaries popping up everywhere, I sat down and I talked to the state opioid response team with the state. Everything is on the, that was based on my discretion. And I don't think that's fair to hold certain people accountable and certain people, not accountable because they can afford the card. So if it was a state regulation, yes, that's just kind of what it is. But I in light of what I'm dealing with, the last thing I'm worried about is marijuana. I just step out on a limb and say that, and my phone might blow up after this. I couldn't do the marijuana maintenance. I couldn't do, that wouldn't work for me because it would have led me back to something else. But that's another point I make. Just because I got sober, the abstinence 12-step base way, right? Just because I got sober and I didn't smoke marijuana or any of that, who in the hell am I to decide what's best for somebody else? That's my journey. That's their journey. And they should be able to take place in deciding what their recovery look like to them. Because they're more likely to work toward it if they feel a part of it. So, the marijuana.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting you said that, because I've done quite a few of these podcasts, and many people have told me about the marijuana thing. And it's just to me, it's just so shocking and unnecessary. Someone I spoke to on the podcast described dispensaries as harm reduction now because of what's going on with fentanyl. And that to me is interesting.
I'll be honest, I'm not going to jump out on a limb and say that, but I will say this. If I had a wish and somebody asked me about this, said, well, would you rather for them to be doing what they're doing or be smoking weed? I'd be like smoking weed. Because then all of them be home, sleep, eating, not going to jail, not breaking in houses, not getting hurt, not trying to hurt somebody else to get, I always just choose the less of two evils. Like, look, again, I'm not.
Please enter the extension that you wish to intercom. Follow.
Like, the guru, I say of that, but I say it's a perception of harm. A lot of them just look at it like, the reason I became okay with the entire marijuana thing, I just go ahead and say it, is because of what I just described to you. Right? Somebody, but marijuana is still a drug. Yeah, it is. But if you're going to do it, just like I said about here, you come here, you see a doctor, you do it safely. If you go up the street and buy some marijuana from whoever, a lot of times they smoking the marijuana. Well, they didn't lace it with fentanyl. They don't know. It gets sent here like that. So, I know if you go into a dispensary, that's regulated. Like they have to adhere to certain things, test this, so you're less likely to get hurt just smoking some weed. And if you go down the street and smoke some weed, it's like what you just told me, asked me a minute ago. You go up the street and buy some weed and it's fentanyl and you overdose and die. A lot of times this is what's happening. You've seen young ladies, opioids among African-American women is skyrocketing because they're passing pills around, like, oh, I'm cramping or, something, oh, girl, honey, you can have one of these or let me have one of your pain pills. Yeah, we know the drill. You shouldn't be sharing medication. I'm just giving you some examples of how this takes place. And then they get one from their friend, but what they didn't know, their friend didn't get this from the pharmacy. She got it from a friend who got it from a friend who got it from somebody who was pressing pills. She take the pill, overdose, and die and have fentanyl in her system. They're like, I didn't know she had a problem with drugs. She possibly didn't. She took one pill. She thought it was a Percocet or hydrocodone or whatever it was. And her mind was saying, you don't do this drug. This is a strong drug, but she didn't know. That's why I say it's a figment of your imagination. She thinks she took this, but it was really this. She did 2 kids, no mother. And she had that stigma on her back of she was a closet drug addict, but it's possibly she wasn't. So that's why I tell people, if you didn't go get it yourself from the dispensary, or if you didn't go get it yourself from the pharmacy, I always consider it, my rule of thumb is treat it like it got fentanyl on it. Treat it like that, and you'll, so, asking about the marijuana thing, it's the list of 2 evils. You get a card, you go to the dispensary, no, that don't have fentanyl on it, and, that's your choice.
That's right. That's really interesting stuff. Thank you very much for explaining that to us. Last couple of questions. I ask all of my guests this because I get some really interesting and varied answers. You've already touched on this already, but can you tell me what your opinion is of harm reduction and how it can play such a pivotal role in recovery?
So you have these different forms of harm reduction. Like, I don't know how it is up north, and I won't pretend to act because I only visited there. But you have different forms of harm reduction. We have clean needles and stuff like. And then you get the proponents of it say, oh well, what it's like you permitting them to use, or you come out with Narcan as a harm reduction. I give Narcan out to every patient who do an admission with us. For it's a part of our admission process. When you dose and do that, we give you 2 vials. And give it to who's around you the most. Give it to, and most people will say, well, isn't that enabling them? Like, you just tell them to get high. No, what I'm doing is trying to buy them another day to be alive. Right? Because if I tell people this all the time, they say, I'm in the business of keeping people alive. Because if I can keep you alive long enough, your decision making hopefully will change over time. But without these harm reduction measures like Narcan and things like that, you did something and you died, and the world forgot about you. Sad as that is, but you do something and somebody Narcan you, and you make it, and then eventually you have those 3 kids back, and you had a job and a college degree or that trade or whatever you want to do with your life, and you happy, you flourish, and you have a husband or you have a wife, you have a home, you're paying taxes. You're remembered. You remember, we didn't enable you. What we did was keep you alive. We kept you alive. And God kept you alive, but he used us as instruments to do that. I take pride in it. I take pride in people who come in here who the world has gave up on them. But we don't give up on people here. They give up on us before we give up on them. And so I love harm reduction. And another last fun fact, I was like those people. When I did community support, I was a stunt support group person. That's cross addicting. This. And I'll tell you what changed my thoughts about that. Young lady I know, very good friend of mine. She used to come hang around with us. And I tell the story and it still kind of makes me tear up. She used to come hang around with us, and she was sober for about 12 months. And we used to have all these little our own ideology about, because this was when these medications first came to Mississippi. Oh, it's cross addicting, blah, 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 blah. And I tell people, I'm not Moses. Don't itch what I say is strong like it's a 10 commandment. And this girl was hanging with us and she disappeared. And I saw her about a year later and she was strung out. And she said, Jeff, I had and have so much respect for y'all. She said, But I heard the way y'all like really wasn't on board with the medication I was taking, and my eyes got this big. She was like, yeah, I was on buprenorphine for that year. But she had a job in a car, and her skin was clear and her hair she was thriving in life. And our dumbass opinions that we knew nothing about, just talking, had the potential to kill. And I spent the next 2 years researching, finding out about these medications, like how to do it. And I learned so much that, I was given the opioid therapist position, and I changed my ideas about it based on that young lady. And I spent the next 2 years after that with her coming into treatment, disappearing, coming back. I found her, get her back in treatment. Look, I used to go to crack houses and get people. The drug dealers knew me and they respected me. That's Mr. Jeff. He's just trying to help them. And they'll send them off with me to go to treatment knowing full well they owed them money. Like I don't run from nowhere. Like I don't run from anywhere.
Please enter the extension that you wish to intercom, followed.
I don't run from anywhere. I go anywhere where I need to go to help them. And anyway, eventually, true story. 3 months ago, random phone call. It was that young lady. She came for 4 months in treatment where I used to be. She left. I was like, this ain't looking good. 3 months ago, she came back. She said, I'm picking up my 18-month chill. Can you give it to me? She said, I've been sober 18 months. She said, I stayed sober a year here, but I had to leave. I went over to Alabama, and she's sober. She got a car. She got a job, right? She chairs meetings. So to anybody who feels like I'm that have to draw a line in the saying, I said this, I gotta just be there. I don't have the ignorance is bliss. I didn't have to stay there. Even though that happened, I used it like I did with everything else in my life to catapult me on to something great, where that was a defining moment for me to say, that was a wrong take I had on it. I need to revisit it. And most importantly, I need to educate myself before I open my ignorant mouth about things I don't know anything about. Because once I did that, you get able to take, it's a guy, I say this, and you can edit it out if you want to. There's a guy in this big book, right, that we use in churches, and he persecuted Christians. He persecuted Christians. God changed his vision about it. Well, first he took his sight, but he changed his vision about it. And this guy became a weapon in my creator's arsenal. So I take that same ideology and say, he chooses the least of us. And now I was able to take that ignorance that I had and now use it in an arsenal for good to help keep people alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to stay ignorant what I'm saying. Like, I can educate myself and I can do better.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you so much. That was an incredible description of harm reduction. I love that, Jeffrey. Last question. Do you have a message for anyone listening to this podcast who is going through an addiction?
Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. You worth it. Your children worth it. Your family worth it. Your community worth it. In recovery, I have found when I was using, I was getting high, and I know I didn't get raised at the end of the stuff, but when I gave up everything for one thing. But when I got sober, all I had to do was give up that one thing, and I got everything. Everything that I thought was impossible to a little inner city kid like me became possible. But my creator, I talk a lot about him because anything good that I do is more of a reflection of him than it is me. Because he told me ain't nothing good but him anyway. So all of these things that I thought I would never be able to, I dropped out of high school. A lot of people don't know that about me. I dropped out of high school to do other stuff. Through recovery, I was able to go back, get my GED. I went back to school to the 13th ranked HBCU in the nation, and I graduated magna cum laude in my class. I went to graduate school and I graduated magna cum laude. I had the second highest GPA in my school in my cohort of mental health counselors. And I say that because I dropped out of school and I convinced myself through my addiction that I was dumb, that I just couldn't hack it. And no, I was lazy. And I didn't prepare properly because mentally I had my mind set on doing other stuff. But when I got sober and my mind cleared, I was like that little choo-choo train. I get an A or a B here. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. And before you know it, I was full-fledged. And I realized I'm not a dumb person. I am worthy. God does love me. Right? I can be an asset to my community. I have something else to offer somebody else. It can stop them from going through the pits of hell that I've been through. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. Been overdosed. I've been in jail, not to prison. I went to county jail for 12 months with no bond. Right? For my own errors. I was rightfully there. But that's the situation that God worked out for me through John's Kid and drug courts and stuff like that. I have been getting I stole to God of not only first, the second chance, the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 8, 9, 10 chances. As long as I got breath in my body, I got a shot. So my message is don't give up on yourself. I believe in you until you believe in yourself. I love you till you love yourself. And I got a team of people here with me. They're going to love you till you love yourself too. And the only thing that you owe us is that when you get it, you go give it to somebody else for free. Because that's what I do. I had to get sober because I couldn't transmit something I didn't have. I've been had a good heart, but I had to get sober and I had to go through what I had to go through. So the message is of hope. You can recover if you want to. You have to make a decision. You don't have to do dope again if you don't want to, or if you want to, but you have to get with people that can help you do that. And that's what we do. Children that haven't done drugs, if you got kids or you feel like we have alcohol, drug, violence prevention services here. We come out and talk to them, do stuff with them to try to stop them from jumping over that threshold. Because if I had somebody come talk to me and tell me the stuff, I maybe would have still did it, but I don't think it would have lasted as long because I would have saw what they were telling me was true. Look, I'm just trying to be of service, man. I'm living on borrowed time. The things I've done in my life, I probably should have been dead. But God saw fit to spare me. I'm living on borrowed time and he gave me the gift of sobriety, and what I do with it is my gift back to him.
Love it.
So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for that. Last question, Jeffrey. Can you tell our listeners how to best to contact you and to find your amazing service online?
I am Jeffrey Harvey. My email address is jeffrey.harvey@programs.com. My direct cell is 601-665-2475. That's 601-665-2475. And I have one more number that I sent you that they can call and have a direct inquiry set up so they won't have to talk to me and have me annoying them. Where are we? Here we go. And that phone number is 844-657-2335. That's 844-657-2335. My name is Jeffrey Harvey, the clinic director of Jackson Comprehensive Treatment Center and the CEO of Natural Prevention, Mentorship, and Consultation.
Jeffrey, what can I say?
Nobody get too long with it. I start talking about recovery, I could just go, man, because it's my life. This is what I do. Like I thought I wanted a career where I could hit the clock and go home. And I had an opportunity to sit down and like chill for a month. I had a back surgery and I realized, man, running and gunning and helping people is just what I love to do. Now I have to take care of myself. I love people, but I love me today too. Good. But it's this is the bright spot in my life, man. You know, doctors, this the bright spot.
I could certainly feel that. That's for sure. Jeffrey, it's been a real honor and a privilege to hear your story and about your career and about the wonderful work that you're doing in your state within your community. Thank you so much for joining me today.
I thank you for having me to represent the great state of Mississippi here in Jackson.
Yeah, well, you've done that beautifully. Thank you so much, sir.
All right.